how to spin up the Quorum network. So basically, so have you heard about Quorum already?
Yeah, first kind of
I see.
there wasn't a workshop, but there was a booth.
Okay, so the Quorum is actually it's a fork of ethereum gas client, right? So we modify the upstream and add some more stuff in there to make it enterprise ready. So we got a lot of features, but I'll go through that with you later on. Now, myself, I'm the Quorum engineer. Initially, I worked as a infrastructure integration engineer for public cloud. So I integrate AWS, Azure, and public cloud providers to JP Morgan. Because we use a lot of Terraform internally, so I'm contributor to the Terraform core and Terraform providers. You heard of Terraform before?
Yeah, it's a kind of DevOps tools to automate the server hosting.
That's right. It's the infrastructure as a code kind of tooling for DevOps. It's pretty cool. Because we use Terraform a lot in the firm, so we contribute back to the community in terms of both the core and the providers. Yeah, so I'm from Vietnam. I did my graduate in India and Australia, and I worked in Singapore, and now I'm fulfilling my blockchain dreams in the US. That's a very short introduction. So you can find me on Slack and GitHub, not using Twitter. But if you hop into the Slack channel for Quorum, then you can find me easily. Right, so very simple. I'm going to showcase how we're going to deploy Quorum nodes. Actually, a lot of tooling available to make it happen. And in the demo, I'll focus on one tool that would like to bring it forward further. And what's the next one for the deploying the Quorum network. Now, for Quorum network, everyone play with Quorum. They start with set nodes example. So there's a link to GitHub over here. It's an example, so it's kind of kitchen sink for playing with Quorum. Start up the set nodes example. You can send private transactions between nodes, and we support various ways of starting up them. Vagrant is the first option, and later on we add Docker Compose based on the official Docker images that we publish to Docker Hub. So you can play around with that. It's very simple. It's running on a single machine. So if you got like a laptop or a VM somewhere, it requires 4 gig to 8 gig RAM, you can start up with a simple script and play around with the network. That's one way of doing it. The second way is there's a Quorum Maker tool. I think it's developed by our partner, and it is very similar to Puppet. You heard of Puppet? It's a wizard like you write a shell script, and then it asks you like start a network, join the network, and start very step-by-step manual interactive console that you can create the network, Quorum network easily. We have Quorum Cloud, which is the one that I'm going to present today for the demo. And the idea of Quorum Cloud is we would like to have the ability to bring up Quorum network in many cloud providers. So it could be in AWS, Azure. There's an Azure blockchain service that they just announced this year, which powered by Quorum. So by default, if you use that service, it's Quorum underneath it with Istanbul consensus. And also, hopefully we can do something with Quorum Cloud to support Azure as a bare metal VMs as well. And GCP or Google Cloud Platform, waiting for your contribution maybe in the future. And we have another project just open source recently called Kubernetes. So Libby is the author of it. If you have any questions, right here. Yeah, so basically the idea is like generate a bunch of data files for Kubernetes clusters. You can bring that metadata files, and then you can deploy in a lot of Kubernetes platform. You should check it out. All of them are open source, and link over here. Play around with it and give us some feedback on such, and raise some GitHub issues if you find anything interesting. Yeah, so the idea is using Terraform as a tool to consistently provide the workflow to deploy Quorum on the different cloud providers. Right? So you can use Terraform to deploy on AWS or Azure or Google Cloud or any other cloud platforms that Terraform supports. So the good thing about Terraform is the ability to mix and match. So you can really like start 2 nodes in AWS and 3 nodes in Azure and 1 node in Google if you want to. That's possible because Terraform gives you the very nice abstraction layers that communicate with all the providers using their APIs. And on top of that, it has something called the HCL, the HashiCorp configuration language. So you can describe what you want to do with your infrastructure or software. So when you describe it, Terraform runtime will, going through that, configuration file, and then perform API calls to all the cloud providers and perform according provisioning. So the first version of Quorum Cloud that we have at the moment is mainly focused on AWS. It's actually the very first project that I did when I first joined Quorum, because back then we had only several examples, and that's it. So there was an issue about memory leak in Quorum. So I really wanted to see like how do I run it, for a long time to observe the memory and CPU usage and stuff like that. First, I run on my laptop. I just leave my laptop in the office and then come back the next day. It's pain. I need the laptop for something else, so I can't run like that. So what it was, I created the Quorum Cloud on AWS using AWS Elastic Container Service because we already produce Docker containers images. So we can use that to create a Quorum network in ECS easily. I have some S3 and I have the EC2 instance to act as a jump host to our Quorum network. So the architecture is like this. It's very simple. So it's all AWS environment. So we've got a public subnet. So there are 2 subnets that segregate the bastion node and the actual Quorum network. So the actual Quorum network is in the private subnet. So it makes it easy for you to scale as many as you want. The public subnet is only the bastion node, which is the jump host that can help you to tunnel to the Quorum network. So your Quorum network doesn't expose, all the nodes to the public, just inside the private subnet. And all the traffic will go through the bastion node and go inside the Quorum network. I showed you later on the demo on how to connect to the Quorum network via the bastion node. So this Quorum Cloud project using Terraform 0.11. So because there's a major change in the HCL language in 0.12, so I haven't upgraded yet. So right now it's only compatible with 0.11. Now the Terraform gives you a very consistent workflow. So once you describe the infrastructure, the workflow to provision your infrastructure or the software that is very consistent. You init, you plan, you apply, and you destroy consistently. Throughout AWS or Google or Azure, you run the same command: init, plan, apply, and destroy. So that makes it very powerful in terms of the experience and the consistency in terms of how I can change or I can provision my infrastructure. Now, Quorum Cloud AWS here is doing bootstrapping the Quorum network from scratch. It means that it doesn't depend on any existing information in the on your local. It creates a node key for you, create some default accounts, create some data directory. Normally you run it by get init. You collect all the IPs and build a static node station. Now one of the challenges in the cloud is like the IP change all the time, right? So it's going to be hard to fix the IP. If you want to fix the IP on the cloud, then you have to pay money for it, and that's why we don't want to go for that route. And there's some workarounds to make sure that only when the node comes up, we collect the IPs, and then I build the static nodes of JSON, and then I distribute that into the network before I actually start the network up.
A question?
Yeah.
For any new nodes that get spin up, can the new IP address be updated while the node is running, or does the other nodes have to shut down first?
Very good point. So here we are talking about the day one operation for the network. It means that I only care about whether bring up the network. This tool doesn't give you a day 2 plus features. It means that if you want to change the network, if you want to add a new node in, what if the node is down and stuff like that. It doesn't give that feature yet. It's a little bit tricky, but it's doable, just like we need to spend some time and get it up and running. Yeah. Because all the features about remove a node, update the node, or add a node in, there are APIs available already for Graph and for Istanbul as well. You just need to make sure that you can collaborate them and then make it happen. Yeah. And that's a good point because I'm going to go at the end of the slide and show you what is our plan to do all these things. Google Cloud can support day 2 plus in a certain level. I'm not saying 100%, like being a network management kind of tool, but it can give you some level of management that is good for testing and development. So we use it, to run our acceptance test suite on a daily basis. So we've got the test suite running on Travis. It's open source as well. Every day it runs Quorum Cloud, provision the Quorum network on AWS, run a bunch of tests, and then shut it down, destroy everything. So very clean, save money for the firm for sure, and give us the output of whether the output having any issue with broken existing features or not. So it's very useful for us. And the second thing that we use for is to keep track of the long-running network, because we really care about the memory usage, the CPU usage, to see how the block got generated, any error from the log is going to be present. That way you can see how the networks perform in a very long period of time. So I'll show you later on. I'll show you the log monitoring available in AWS. It's pretty cool actually, and it's pretty seamless. There's not much work to do. Everything is integrated nicely in AWS. Yeah. So I'll give you a demo. Now I pre-recorded it because I don't trust the wireless over here. It's a little bit slow. But it's exactly what is happened. So I have a bunch of videos here. I'm going to skip a bunch of things because it's not very necessary, because for Terraform, there's one thing that we have to keep in mind is Terraform managing the state for us. The state means the infrastructure state. So it has its own view of your infrastructure, and there's actual state of your infrastructure. So when it runs, it tries to compare those two together to decide whether it should delete, remove, update anything in infrastructure. So the state management is crucial in Terraform. So there are two options. One is you can store your state locally as a file, and second option is you can store the state in the remote location like S3. Right? So the prepare environment here in this state management is about to make sure that the Terraform has a place to store your state. So Terraform recently, I think a couple months ago, they opened for public something called Terraform Cloud, which allows you to remotely manage your state, which is pretty cool because right now it's very troublesome and manual work to make the state managed remotely. Now Terraform Cloud is the online service, it's a SaaS service from Terraform, HashiCorp. They make it very easy. So you should check out the Terraform Cloud to manage your state remotely instead of using something like S3 like I did.
Does Terraform Cloud go through the host and do the.
So yeah, Terraform Cloud is just another service from HashiCorp, and your Terraform runtime or your Terraform configuration is sitting in your local. So when you run it, it just stores the state of your infrastructure in that Terraform Cloud. So it is a separate service altogether. It doesn't do anything with your infrastructure. So you have a bunch of HCL configuration here on your local. When you run Terraform, edit, plan, apply, what it does is it goes to your cloud provider of choice, provision everything, remember the state of it, and upload it to the Terraform Cloud.
Isn't there like, going through your actual network, there is the job host,
Yeah.
So does that bypass?
No, so Terraform Cloud is only to store the state of your infrastructure, like your VMs, your S3 bucket, your EC2 information, and stuff like that. It's nothing to do with the core network.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it's just the state of your infrastructure, not the state of the core network. The core network is installed in AWS. So here's how thing works. So initially, you know, when you start the Quorum network, I limit the security group very strict, so no one can access to my Quorum network. So do the curl fconfig.core and give me the current IP of it, and then I can fit into my Terraform script saying that, okay, create for me the security group that allows only this IP to access my network. So basically what I'm doing here. So the next thing is I just copy that file, and there's a file called terraform.tfr, which is on the input to my Terraform configuration. So here a bunch of input that you can see. There's a subnet ID information, there's public subnet ID information, and there's access bastion inside the blocks. That's where I'm going to put my IP in, so that from my local, I can access to the bastion node because of the security group restriction that I want to put on. And some other things like consensus mechanism that we can configure, the number of nodes we want to spin up. There's a Docker image tags, the version that we can use to spin up the network. There are more, like inputs that can put onto the network. More information is in the one file called the variables.tf that will describe for you all the input that you can do to customize the network. So continue there. So here, just copy it there. Save that file, and then very simple. I init. Make sure that I'm using S3 to store my Terraform state for my Quorum network. And it's going to download a bunch of providers. Providers are the ones that are managing all the API call, all the resource creation that is defined in my Terraform configuration. And I say Terraform configuration is like a template or a script. So it describes infrastructure in HCL. So when you say Terraform plan, it's gonna tell you that what are the resources what to be created, what what are things that are going to be destroyed and stuff like that. But because now we generate the brand new network, so everything is add. So when you plan it, show you all the resources that you create. So like over 32 resources to be created. Just imagine that you can create it by hand, it's impossible, right? So, when you do the pipeline, it gives you a preview of what it's going to do as well. And when you say yes, it's doing a bunch of things. It's going to call a bunch of APIs, provision the IAM policy, provision security group, creating the ECS task, services, EC2 instances, wire them up together, make it nice and neat. And in a few seconds, it takes around 5 minutes, but I cut it short. So, Bastion here. Yeah, here you go. It's also created, and then it provision the Bastion, it copy the information to the Bastion, and then do the start of the network. So what is done, you can see the output coming out of it is giving some information about the network that it just provisioned, proper image version and name that you get from the CloudWatch log group, where you can see all the logs of all the nodes that you have. The Bastion host, DNS and IP, that's for you to access to the Bastion node so that you can jump to the internet network and the login and stuff like that. So one of the things is it generates for you the private key as well. So this private key you can use it to access to your Bastion node. That's one. So after you got the network, that's good, right? How do you connect? So here's another video that captures how to connect to that network. So here, the information about the network got printed out after I run Terraform apply. I copy the Bastion node, right? Go to the EC2. Now this is interesting. Now the Bastion node acting as a jump host to the private network or Quorum network, but also we deploy the e-stats on the Bastion node as well, so that it can give you the information about the whole Quorum network. So let me jump out over here quickly and give you the view of that. So the Bastion nodes, information that the network that I already provisioned, and this is e-stats from Puppet that listing out all the nodes in the network and some useful information. Like I let this network run very long time. It's like 2 billion plus blocks got generated now in Istanbul. Yeah, some information like version and stuff like that. So it's exactly the same as the UI that you're going to get for running the ETHStats and publish the metrics to the ETHStats. Right, so here we've got information about. Now go back here. Now if I list out the current directory, there's a PAM file, right, which is the private key file that I'm using to access to my Bastion node. EC2 user and the Bastion node, bam, I jump into the jump host from my local, right? And then if I want to get attached to any node, I just say node 1 or node 2 and node 4, node 5, so on and so forth. Right? It means that now I SSH to the jump host, and then from there I access my private network, which is cool, but it's not very useful, right? What you want to access your network from your local machine. So how do I do that?
Yeah. The node 1, is it an alias that you created?
Yeah. Yeah. It's an alias. It's a get attach command that I did because I have all the information about what IP for the node 1 and node 2 and so on. Right? So I just create a shell script that's doing that. Yeah. But frankly speaking, it's a bit useful, but it's not super useful. This one is even more useful because most of the time, what we want is we want to access the network from outside, right? Not from inside. So node 7 and stuff. Just give some get attached information, which is similar to what you can get, but it's from the jump host. Now here you go. So you can always run the Terraform output command to display the existing information of your Quorum network. Right. Okay, and that's it. Now, if you want to connect from outside, that's how it goes. Same thing, Terraform output to get information. Right. Now, because you can SSH to the port or to the Bastion node, you can do the SSH tunnel to that as well, right? So, but we need to know some information about the network first, right? You don't know the IP of every node. You don't know what are the public key of the privacy address or the public key of Tessera or privacy engine. So there's information available in the Bastion node and the QData, Quorum metadata, and that's where the information is going to be listed. you have like node 1, the URL of it, privacy address of it, and so on and so forth, to node 7, or number of nodes that we added, we put it in the provisioning script. Right. After you got, display some information here, we know that, okay, here's my network. All right. The next thing is, we're going to start an SSH tunnel via Apache node. So this command, what it does, is a very standard command. Establish an SSH tunnel to the Apache node and make it ready. Right. So the next thing is, okay, I got it ready. All I need to do is I export a HTTP proxy using source file to the SSH tunnel that I created over here, say port 5000. Right. So it means that all the HTTP requests going through this proxy will hit through the jump host to the private network. So it's go all the way in. And it makes it very secure as well, because you're the only one get the private key here. Right? So you look at, I'll see a little bit. So after you export the HTTP proxy and the source file, port 5000, which is the SSH tunnel that we just started right there on the left hand side, then you can get attached to the private IP inside the IPv6, because now it's got a tunnel via jump host going to the private network, which is private subnet. So. And you can run on kind of things like load script, public contract, and private contract, and stuff like that. So easily. Do exactly the same way that we can do it, like you have a local Quorum network. Now, I'll show you quickly about very interesting thing about the network. So this is my cluster. Click on the cluster. These are my 7 nodes example using ECS. I click on, say, node 7. Right. I go to task. There's only one task because I start only Quorum. I click on task. Go down there, there's a bunch of very interesting information. So here are different containers that I started. Right. And most notably, there's only Tessera run and Quorum run. Right. These are things that the bootstrap container, which died right away after it did its jobs. And in the Quorum run, it's actually running the Quorum. It's a bunch of shell script. Pretty ugly. Some labels for your network, and you can view logs in CloudWatch. So click on here, it's going to direct you to a CloudWatch for node 7. And from here you can filter, you can search, you can set alerts for certain log information from your network, send your emails, send text, blah blah, whatever fancy notification services that AWS provide you. You can use it here as well. Right, so this all information is all the logs with verbose 5 pocket going to be listed here. Right, this one is more interesting. Right, in the CloudWatch, I click on the matrix. I'm searching for my Quorum network because I'm using ECS. I click on ECS. Here are the memory and CPU utilization for individual node in my network. If I search for memory, I'll show you video memory on the node, right? I click everything. There you go. Here's the memory utilization for all 7 nodes that I started. I can do all kind of filtering and display. You can see that it's very consistent. Right? Got some spike, which is okay. Like block generation and then cache fill up and then it do some GC and blah blah blah. But for the last 1 week, it's pretty consistent. So we know that, oh, okay, looks good. There's no memory leak over here. It's in the first issue that I encountered, there was a memory leak. You can see clearly that it's going up somewhere and then die. So that's how we can, monitor and detect whether there's anything wrong with the gap. Yeah. So. Yeah, what's the demo? What's next? Okay, now it's very interesting. right now the bootstrapping is like coupled inside the ECS container. So I have to run like multiple containers to get information. Like I have to run get container to do the get init. I have to run Tessera container to do the key generation of Tessera, which is crazy, right? Now we need to decouple that to make sure that we have the bootstrapping of Quorum network on your local. You've got the infrastructure ready, you just merge them together. In order to do that, we have to do something called, we have to write our own Terraform provider plugin, which is very easy to write as well. And we're planning to work with HashiCorp to open source that and make it happen so everyone can use the Quorum Terraform plugin to bootstrap the Quorum network using Terraform. And then they can write all kind of Terraform configuration that fit their needs to deploy the Quorum network into their infrastructure easily. And the second thing that we want to do is we want to use vanilla EC2 instead of container, because a lot of question is, okay, you start up container and stuff, and how do I access to the log? How do I access to the box? Because they want really to see the instance running. So we need to make it happen. So, but that is in the pipeline right now. And Azure and CP is next for us.